Hello, Leo. Welcome to a timeless reading of yours. What most likely brought you here is the title of the reading. So bear in mind a few things while you decide whether or not you're going to listen out to the entirety of the reading. All right. Justice for Leo will apply for whatever is to be in resonancy after you have completed listening to the reading. However, it intrigues you is to be utilized and judged using your own discernment. For remember, this is not a one-to-one reading. Okay, this is a reading that you've decided to venture across and see whether or not there's something within listening within it, whether or not there's something within or without. Okay, that journey is completely up to you. Please know that in the discretion of who I read these energies for, I am Master 7th, aka 7th. This channel's name is Sekhmet. And yeah, that will give enough of its own explanation. And in that, it doesn't necessarily have room to be merciful on the delivery of the reactionary emotions that her energy triggers. Okay, keep that in mind as you participate for however long you are here to participate into and without or within or whatever this clusterfuck of words is going to try to say. All right, but remember a few things as I get ready. Okay, I am 7th. I read these energies for you. Should you want to know who she is, what she's all about, her details can be found in the description box below. Bear in mind that I am a master healer that provides remote wellness alignments and tarot intuitive insights such as this. Again, this is not a personal reading. You and I are not sitting one-to-one and having a connection of some kind. This is a general collective that you are tapping into, okay? So bear that in mind as you, again, utilize what comes across and your own judgments that might come forth. Another added detail is that gender is femininity and masculinity is non-gender specific. Okay, so that means femininity has both masculine and feminine, and masculinity has both femininity and masculinity. Okay. All right, justice for Leo. I think that if you're somebody who's been traumatized as of late, or just been warped in what comes across as not harmonious, and it has anything to do with your dream state, your astral traveling, your meditative visions, then there's something egotistically that you might not be understanding. Okay, there might be a part of your ego that doesn't understand how and when to surrender in an ego death. That's what I'm getting. Okay, now, yeah, so that could also be important because you can't. Oh. So pregnant. You are juiced up with it can't come out. That's how pregnant you are. This is not about it being you literally pregnant or not. Could be awesome sauce if it is. Congratulations. No point intended in being sassy. It's, however, this site of self you cannot see. You can't see this. You can't see it. You, however, maybe participate in it. You flirt with it. You like the attraction that people see about you at this time. You like flirting in it. You like romancing and catering to it. You like your successes. You like all this shit. You know, you like this flow of shit. You do. You like this flow of shit. But I will have to say, why are you here exactly? It's not necessarily mean to immediately address that there's something negative in you being here. This is just, why are you here? Why is the part that is in here, here? And I don't know if you know that. And I think that's part of why it's so like, whoa, you're so full with something. You don't know if you can label it anyway. Because at the same time, there's so many things wrong as things are going right. But I don't think you're also catching your maturity in this process. Let's be fair. All right, let's be fair that I don't think you catch yourself in your own maturity. There are a lot of things that you say, do, that don't align with some of the things that you tell other people about. It's like you stretch your personality thin when you behave one way with another and a different way with another. And then they kind of like meet each other at the supermarket and talk about you. Like, huh, I didn't ever do that about X, Y, and Z. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with somebody knowing you exactly for what it is that you're giving them to know about you. But if you start psychoanalyzing the versions of you in a form of questioning self, that's when you're hinting that there's something amiss, and not in a positive way, right? It's not, you're not feeling much aligned while you feel full, you know? All right. With the Four of Wands here, it's saying you should be full in love, you know? But I feel at the same time, there's a part of this ambiguity of not knowing if you can trust the political aspects of loving what it is that you're in love with. Maybe that has to do with political reasons at this time, okay? And to be honest, I hate saying it that way because everything up to this point has been honest. Little flare of pixie dust of, listen to this one, is don't worry about it so much. Because if worrying about it takes away energy to love the love that you're in and loving, then I have to tell you don't worry about it. Because if your form of ignorance on the topic is the bliss of loving, then why wouldn't I want to encourage the act of loving? To diminish the reality of an elephant in a room that we don't have the power to say, leave, I don't want you here, elephant of the room. And I think some of that is having to do with the intellectual aspect of what you could know versus what you do know, and being at war with that. But because you're at war with it personally, and those thoughts don't affect other people, that's not what they get from you. They don't necessarily feel that your life is in any way wrong, or maybe even saddened or burdened. Yeah, because I think you take that, your what you know of self and what you don't know of self, and you chisel it down with, well, this is what I have to offer. This is who I am. This is what you get from me. Okay? And it's not my responsibility if what you get from me is not in the same creation of what someone else might get from me. And again, it's interesting that we have to circle back on that same point, because it's okay for people to learn and know you in the way that you give them the perspective of, this is what you know me as. This is what I give for you to celebrate me of, or this is the version of you of me that you get. And it's totally okay for that. However, when is it not okay? I think it's also the elephant in the room to be like, yeah, but is it okay though? Like, do you really not care that these people don't give a shit about you, or know a little bit of shit about you, and don't know really shit about all the, like what? Like I'm right here. You can't, like, the elephant has the longest memory, right? So it's like, according to history, and according to the future, that which you cannot see, judged by the history, are you gonna be really okay with this shit? Because the only way that I can fix this is if you accept some of the shit that's happening. And getting control of that shit. And not blaming other people for the shit. You know? shit. Alright, so. So yeah, this is about, like, if you need, if you call a part justice, and you want equal reciprocity and closure to things that are troublesome, be worried about the things that you can show up to face and gain perspective of and can fix, rather than focusing on topics that over and over show you that's not where your attention needs to be at this time. And it might be an ego blow. You might not like this shit. Your family members might not like it that you're, like, not political at this time. You're not following out the latest news and all the sad parts that are out there, and the dangers of the way that the shit is really trying to trigger the saddest parts of you. It's not fair to the possibilities of what could also be to only pay attention to that. It's not fair. It's not fair to everyone else who's gone through similar messes and have gotten parts of their body out into the other side. They're like, oh no, there's another side, y'all. Come to the other side. There's another side. There's another side. There's another side. Echo, another side. So however anyone can preach, like, oh shit, there's another side, they're immediately out of that juicy, luscious, of euphoric prevail that it is just gonna be so magnetic that it will only be forced to grow more into itself and become more pregnant of possibilities, all in its own doing, all while it's staying in its own lane and minding its own business and focusing on the shit that it can't focus. That's the most important variable at this time. Focus on that at which you can focus, okay? Because you're going to drown in psychological wellness and emotional aptitude in a long conversation of a war if those are the soldiers that can't dictate the coming of tomorrow. Like, if you're that limited, then you need to understand where you could put healing energy towards. And that means putting it into you, because putting in healing energy into you means that you could be a better version of a frequency to somebody else, or handle their shit of a negative energy of themselves, and they kind of like toss their negative shit against to you, and you're like, huh, that's your shit, that's my shit. I'm great over here. I'm vibing the way I'm vibing. Like, go ahead, you having a bad day, you know? I was there yesterday, but today I'm here, so, you know, like, that kind of, like, jujitsu move of ego is important to also give yourself credit to. While you lusciously have catered to many appealing and luscious friends in this personality trait, but let's take that home a little bit, Leo. Let's be real. Let's be real with who you are. And let's add that up a little bit and clean it up a little bit, so that way when some things hit the fan that you know you can't dictate anyway, you don't feel like the whole world is out to get you, when you know up to that point it didn't either. It didn't get you. When you were doing some behaviors that you thought 3 million times about after doing it, but no judgments have come, don't be upset of that day that true judgment is like a bully in your face. You saw it coming. You saw it coming. And there's a sense of responsibility with being a very luscious Leo energy, that to break that bond is fucking hard, and that's part of the karmic challenge. Quite possibly that is possibly being challenged at this time. All right, let's see what else. All right, we have the stars, hope. Okay, like, there's tremendous beauty to be found in the misery of darkness that we are in. Even if we entertain them, or they're just there because we feel We can blame so many things externally or fundamentally, quote unquote, wrong for it to be that cloud of darkness. Remember that what you think is darkness is not truly dark. It is purple. It is a mist of light. And the most golden things can be sought for and sought after and found when there is absence of light. You can see more light, and that instills hope. Okay. And when we get lost sometimes in hope, we may resort to feeling, and feelings doesn't necessarily always point us to the North Star, but it will give us an amazing point of journeying and the depthness of all its possibility, because we can emote, making that the human experience, chiseling us into the ego part that comes in journeying this human experience. Okay. And I think you're slowly breaking down internally to implode massively. And it's not that you're losing control, you're holding on very tightly. You're holding on to what it is you. You're holding on to what has, because that will shape what can. And you understand just because what has doesn't mean it will come forth. However. And that part of the journey that might seem very difficult to put faith to could be journeyed in a way safely via emotions that even if your ego is tied to only resorting and having one word for it, although everything in your soul is like, that's not enough for what this is, know that that whole entire processing makes you unique. Please run that back if you have to in order to understand that message. All right. Being told that is all that I have for you at this time, Leo. I'm wishing you a wonderful morning, noon, or night, wherever you are in the ether of this time and space, and may you keep flowing, growing, and glowing. Take care.